What's up, fantasy champions? Spotlight Sports Network is excited to tell you about an amazing deal from Thrive Fantasy, your place for daily fantasy sports and esports. Right now, with promo code SS Network, Thrive Fantasy will match up to $50 of your first deposit. So go to thrivefantasy.com and sign up now with promo code SS Network. That's thrivefantasy.com, promo code SS Network.
Live from Las Vegas, the Snake Sports Talk Show with Jake Silva starts right now.
Oh, isn't it just amazing that we are on a Friday here on the Spotlight Sports Network? It's Jake the Snake Silva, and of course, my trusted partner in crime, my co-host, Darion Hopkins. Man, what a great Friday it is, and what the hell happened to Baltimore last night?
I don't know, brother. I have no clue, man.
It just kind of seems like it's almost like, you're on the train tracks and it's like you forget to fill up enough fuel or enough coal, and then just all of a sudden the train tracks, they just stop. The train just absolutely stops.
Absolutely.
But we got a lot to talk about here on a Friday. First of all, I really do appreciate every single one of you guys coming on in. Coach Donte, Sleep Angels, everybody who's jumping on in. We got 6 viewers and counting today. If you guys haven't done so already, we really do love and encourage you guys. Like, follow, subscribe, and hit the bell button for all latest notifications, as we are live in the 702, and we're also live in Philadelphia.
215 all day.
On the 215 Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, we're all over the atmosphere. And not to mention, we're also all in your ears with iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and so much
and
more.
Amazon Music as well.
Oh man, this is going to be quite the day today. But
absolutely,
let me just start out with this, because you know what? We're all on the train of OBJ has arrived in LA. And so here's my 2 cents of what I'm going to break down about Odell Beckham. First of all, I do think he's a very remarkable player. We've seen him from the catch in New York. We've seen him be like an absolute rookie stud out of LSU. And same with Jarvis Landry. Then we've seen the Odell Beckham where he deserves more credit and more respect as a wide receiver at the times in New York, and then eventually moves on and goes to Cleveland, thinking it was going to be some type of quote-unquote purgatory for him because Cleveland was never a winning franchise.
Right.
But all that changed the second the front offices clean swept every mess that was in there, and then brings in Baker, brings in all these offensive linemen. The defense is great. Mm-hmm. So Cleveland seemed like they were a very competitive team and still are. Now, it just, as I've told you before, Darion, like the fact that Cleveland through and through, when he was injured and all you had was Jarvis Landry, even before Odell came to Cleveland, it seemed like the Browns were such a just offensive juggernaut. I mean, Jarvis Landry was making catches, David Njoku was making catches, and Nick Chubb's just ridiculous of a running back. But the only thing that I can say about this move with LA, there's 2 parts to this. Number one, let's talk about OBJ. First of all, he's out of Cleveland. And then that means all he has is a 7.5 salary cap. And now with him in Los Angeles, he joins an offensive juggernaut with Matthew Stafford, Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, and a bunch of others. And all of us just kind of seem like LA's putting in all the chips. Well, this is the thing about the West Coast. There is no time for rebuild. There is no time for just, giving it a 3-5 year plan. They want everything to happen now. That's the West Coast mentality. And the fact that the Rams went all in on OBJ only tells you one thing. Now, OBJ is not going to be a number one wide receiver. He's not.
Right. He's not going to be a number one wide receiver. Absolutely not.
But he'll definitely be capable of getting enough targets thrown to him. You're joining in with a really good stacked offensive wide receiving core. So you're going to get those playing times in. And depending on how Matthew Stafford really works this off, I mean, it's like he's got every single option in front of him. He's got all the cards in his hand. He could utilize them any way that he wants to against every opposing defense. And I think for OBJ, this is the perfect opportunity that you're in a bigger market in Los Angeles. He was in one when he was in New York. So this is the time to shine to show how much your worth is. Because people are like, OBJ is always hurt. He's a liability. But maybe this is the opportunity to really get his numbers up and get his value as he's here with the Rams. Maybe that's an opportunity for him to do that.
I really have to agree with that. Me personally, I just feel like OBJ is going to be the right fit for the Rams. The question is for me, which I stated on ASAP in the morning, is that how knowing that the whole situation with him with the Cleveland Browns, how they was not throwing him the ball, how he's not good with Baker Mayfield, how things just didn't work out with those two. Me per se, I saved this. Now you got a lot of weapons with Robert Woods, Tyler Higbee, Cooper Kupp, Van Jefferson. Now, if the ball does not be thrown to you, how you're going to react. That's the one thing I want to figure out what's going on with OBJ. Number two, you did take one year, $4.25 million into this contract. Now, you got a Matthew Stafford, you got a quarterback, you got a defense, and you have everything that you need to be a contending team. The question is, do we still see the complaining? Do we still see the crybaby? Do we still see everything that we saw in New York or we saw in Cleveland? Understand that OBJ was not winning with Cleveland. He was not winning with New York. But now you're winning with the Rams. Do we still see if you're going to be a crybaby if the ball is not being thrown to you? That's my only issue there. I think it's a good fit for him if he just wants to be all in and be a part of this actual football team. But if not, then the Rams are going to move on from you real quick. You see what they did with Deshaun Jackson when he wasn't getting the ball. So just imagine now when you're not getting the ball, they will scoop you out in a heartbeat if you think if you having problems there.
Yeah, because the whole point of this is, and like I mentioned before, I mean, this is the type of thing where if you are the Rams, and this is where I'm going to focus my point up on the Rams, because think about all the moves that they made in the Sean McVay era. Yeah. All those moves, the offensive line, stellar. The defense themselves is absolutely stacked. Aaron Donald is ridiculous. Leonard Floyd, really good linebacker. Now they added Von Miller earlier as another pass rushing option where he's going to end up putting pressure up on the opposing quarterbacks. And then on top of all of that, they still have a really good corner. They have really good corners. They got really good safeties. Even Darius Williams always seems to just amaze me in the backfield. Now, I know that they were coming off of a loss against the Titans, but Sean McVay is completely bought into this entire process. I mean, Stan Kroenke is very much a competent owner, is a guy that has no time for rebuild, wants to win a Super Bowl now. That's what this West Coast is all about. And for the fact that the Rams went all in all throughout the offseason with getting Matthew Stafford, moving off of Jared Goff, someone who got them to the Super Bowl the first time. And then you go in all in on Stafford, you go all in on Von Miller, and now you ended up going all in on OBJ. So it makes it feel like this is an organization that has no time for building up prospects. That's why they've given up first-round picks, and this is practically the reason why their money market is just ridiculously expensive. So I feel like
the crazy thing about it is, Jake, is that the Rams don't have any money. Yeah. They give up a lot of draft picks. Their salary cap is shot. they're figuring out ways to get players in. Now, with the whole situation with Von Miller was making $28 million with Denver. They brought that down to $750,000 for him to restructure his contract to play with the Rams. Now you release Deshaun Jackson, you get some cap space, and you get Odell for $4.5 million, almost $4.5 million for 1 year.
Yeah.
I don't know how the Rams is doing it in the front office, but I wish my Raiders and your Chargers was the same exact way when it comes to getting Odell Beckham Jr. and Von Miller, and you trade for Matthew Stafford. They're trying to win a Super Bowl right now. Forget about rebuilding. Forget about going to get another quarterback in the draft. Matthew Stafford is comfortable with this Rams team. I can see him still being there for more than just 1 year. Von Miller is going to be there for more than 1 year. And I think Odell Beckham, if they win the Super Bowl, he will re-sign with the Rams. But if it's a bust for all three of these guys, then something else might just happen. But if they win it all, which they should, in my opinion,
yeah,
they all going to re-sign back.
Oh, absolutely. And it's so funny because think about this. This is LA we're talking about. LA loves to take big swings at a lot of different moves. It ain't even just the Rams making big swings. I mean, the Chargers themselves, this is what's funny because as always, I always like to compare the two like the Lakers and the Clippers because the Lakers took a big swing. They go and get LeBron James. He says, I want Anthony Davis. They sure enough end up winning a title. The Clippers say, well, we don't want to end up being, the orphan brother in the closet anymore. We want to end up being more competitive. That's where they traded to get Kawhi. That's where they ended up getting Paul George in the middle of the mix. And they're still a competitive team. And they may be even better if they start to get more pieces that work to where they could win a title. The Chargers are in the same boat where they ended up hitting a home run with Justin Herbert as their number 6 overall pick. And they ended up getting a brand new offensive line to protect him, and the offense is stellar. So, and then the Rams going and getting the LA Dodgers. They went and took a massive swing at getting Mookie Betts. Like, who does that? The fact that a team that you'll always win a pennant with them, you'll always get into the NLCS, but the question is, are they putting all their chips into getting the World Series? That's why they got Mookie Betts. That's why they ended up getting a bunch of these really good players. And sure enough, they won a World Series. Even on a short season, they still won it. So it's like LA is always the town for making big swings where they go and get big time names. And who knows, they make a run at a Super Bowl, an NBA Finals, a World Series. It's like they're a championship driven team. And it's so funny because we see different vibes when it comes to the East Coast, but it feels like the West Coast has more of that juice and more of that, when you think of LA, you're like, oh, I'm in the sun. I'm in the beach side. Like, everybody just loves to come here.
Yeah, I just feel like now he's on the West Coast. He plays on two teams that was in the cold. And now it's time for OBJ to show up. Now we figure out where your destination is. Now it's just put up or shut up at this point for OBJ. And I cannot wait to see him in this uniform. I cannot wait to see his connection with Matthew Stafford and how he is around his teammates. I just can't wait to see what happens. I just hope it's not too much distraction for the Rams. And I just really hope that if it is a distraction, that Sean McVay and his organization can nip it in the bud, because they're going to be like OBJ. I'm saying to you right now, if you bring any more distractions to this organization, they already had a distraction when they was trying to trade for Jared Goff for Matthew Stafford. That was drama in itself. And then now it's not really drama with Von Miller, but OBJ is a diva. He is, and we're not going to sit here and lie about it. We see a lot of wide receivers in the league that is divas, but I think he's the biggest diva in the league right now, in my opinion. But at the same time, I just can't wait to see now they are the favorites to win it. If they don't win it, this is a bust year for the Los Angeles Rams.
Yeah, this is the time where you got to go big or you go home at this point. So Let's see where this favors out for the Rams come the next couple of weeks and hopefully during the stretch of the season. All right, well, let's talk about one competent team, unlike the Rams, who are not really in a position where like they're trying all these new things, but with a very competent owner who just has no time to sit around and wait. The Carolina Panthers. This is a team that I really looked at. And And the question of it is, because they ended up signing Cam Newton, it's a reunion, they're back, and they said, quote unquote, the meeting went absolutely well between him and the newest owner, Dave Tepper. So the only thing is about this Panthers organization, I would love to just see them be such a competitive team, because you have to think about the division that they are in. There's no Drew Brees in New Orleans, but they'll still manage to sneak in and win a few games. You know what I feel like is I feel like New Orleans almost feels like in college football, they feel like Auburn to me. There'll be a team that you don't really hear a whole lot, but when they play these big, these big time teams, they'll just find ways to upset any NFC team. Then there's Atlanta, where who knows? I mean, Arthur Smith's trying to work his magic with Matt Ryan. And then, of course, there's Tom Brady, and time is ticking on how long he'll play in this league. But it looks like he'll just probably play till he's in his 50s. But when you look at Carolina, the first thing of it is Sam Darnold was not the first option for Carolina.
Yeah, he wasn't the first option at all.
Yeah, and they made it clear. But bringing back Cam, now we knew where we were when the new owner came in and saw exactly what it was that was in front of him. I mean, he had really good offensive weapons, DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, and even some of the newest pieces that they have. They have some type of weapons, and they've also got Christian McCaffrey and Chuba Hubbard. There is potential in this. And not to mention, they ended up trading to go in and get Stephon Gilmore. So they wanted to be competitive in the backfield.
They got CJ Henderson as well from Jacksonville.
Yeah. So there has been a bunch of moves that Carolina has made. But the only problem is why is there still inconsistencies? And I think this is the kind of thing. Carolina, earlier in the last couple of weeks, they were talking about getting into the sweepstakes to acquiring Deshaun Watson. Even though Deshaun, an East Coast native, went to school at Clemson, you would think that there would be some type of reunion for him, but we don't know what is going to happen with all the baggage he's got in his personal life. But that'll be left to be said. But for Carolina, the fact that they were giving Sam Darnold a second chance of redemption, because you have to think about the times he spent in New York, where it was a mess all the way around, a general manager trying to clean every part of the mess up. And then there was Adam Gase, who just, completely flagellated Sam Darnold in his career. But now the question of it is this just who Sam Darnold is? Or does it kind of feel like the Panthers don't really have the right formula in place? You got to think, Matt Rule came into this position knowing he turned Baylor's program around. He turned around Temple in college, and then he comes into Carolina hoping to turn things around, but it kind of feels like the sands are just falling down very fast and very easily, and they have no time for this. So I just feel like by the offseason, I think Carolina might move away from Sam Darnold, because if you are telling me that Sam Darnold and his injuries, his inconsistencies, I mean, look at Carson Wentz. First of all, Carson Wentz we know is a reckless quarterback. There's times where he makes reckless throws. But
very reckless throws, and that he's even doing that in Indianapolis as of right now.
And what's so funny, the difference with Carolina and Indy is that the Colts are in a position where they are finally starting to get healthy and where they're finally going to be competitive. And who knows if they sneak into a position in the playoffs, but they have at least a quarterback that they know his recklessness at times, but as long as Frank Reich is in his ear, he'll turn it around. For Sam, I don't know. I just
don't know with Sam Darnold either. I just don't have any faith in Sam Darnold. He started out really well. They started out 3-0. Then they lost 3 straight, and they've been back and forth, winning, losing. And Damian, for him to say that it was a dumb move to get Cam Newton, can you tell me a quarterback that's available that's better than Cam Newton that's off the market? I'm not going to be smart and I'm just being realistic here. Cam Newton was the best quarterback on the market. There's no other quarterback you could have went out and got that can help you want to win right now with this NFC South, the way it's going, the way The Saints is up and down with Trevor Siemian, and then now you got Tom Brady and the Buccaneers. That's going to probably take over this division. And then you got the Carolina Panthers that went out and got Gilmore and CJ Henderson, and now you bring him back with Christian McCaffrey. Now, my only thing about this is that how quickly is Cam Newton going to pick up Matt Rule's offense? Mind you, this wasn't his offense before he left Carolina. This was not his offense.
Right.
Kaepernick is definitely not an option. Yeah. We're not going to even go that route. Kaepernick is definitely not an option. If you want to say who has the better talent, Cam Newton is the better talented player. It did Kaepernick. Kaepernick did have a good arm. He was very talented with his feet. But right now, with the situation that's going on with Colin Kaepernick, Kaepernick's not worried about football. We're talking about a player that was we're talking about Cam Newton and a player that was just cut by the New England Patriots earlier in the year and have not played football since.
Not to mention with all the COVID, protocols and all the
exactly with all the COVID protocols and all of that stuff. Mm-hmm. So with me, Nick Foles is not better than Cam Newton. That's just another option there. Cam Newton was the top talent at the quarterback position, and Carolina might sound desperate because Sam Darnold's on IR. PJ Walker's going to get to start this week. You still had to go out and sign Matt Barkley to give you some insurance. So with me, I just feel like Cam Newton was ready to come back home. I think he's comfortable there. I think he's going to build a rapport with Matt Rule. It's just what's going to happen by the end of the year when Sam Darnold comes back. Who's going to be your quarterback? And the Carolina always had a bad QB situation after Cam Newton. It never fell, but I got a feeling, and I might be going out on a limb here, but if Cam Newton doesn't show up, if Sam Darnold doesn't show up, and PJ Walker balls out, then you got yourself a quarterback.
Right. And it's so funny. And it's funny you mentioned this with, after Cam's situation, because the funny thing of it is you're absolutely right. Carolina has been that team, which it's interesting. They were an organization that was very fresh, very brand new, and they had a really, really good defense. We remember these were the days of Julius Peppers and Thomas Davis and Luke Kuechly and a lot of really, really good players. Yeah, Jake Delhomme. That's the funny thing.
Smith, you had Mushin Muhammad, those guys. Yeah, they were solidified at that time.
Yeah, and that's the thing. The two quarterbacks that had only been successful in this franchise has been Jake Delhomme and Cam Newton. Those are the only two. The rest of them all, I mean, look, Jimmy Clausen,
another one that
Chris
they got
Winky,
in the first round.
A kid out of Notre Dame that a lot of people had such high praises for, and he was not making it in this league. He was unfortunately not making it. They didn't really have a whole lot of weapons to really start with because afterwards, Steve Smith moves on to Baltimore. Musa Mohammed goes to Chicago, comes back to Carolina, and then eventually ends his career there. But so now the tables are set. So it's like now that you just have to have the right capable playmaker to make the rest of this whole playbook work. So,
right.
And you're right. I don't know what the option's going to be, but they better make a decision soon. Otherwise, Carolina,
as of right now, it's just a quarterback competition for the Carolina Panthers.
Pretty much. I mean,
it is a quarterback competition, and that's what it's going to be. We're back at training camp for the Carolina Panthers.
And it's so funny because you know what? They're such a mirroring image to the Washington football team. I'm not kidding you. They really are. Like the fact that same situation.
They had their future. I wouldn't say they had Washington football team didn't have their future, but they had a solidified quarterback in Ryan Fitzpatrick, and then the injury happened.
Yeah.
And now you see the rise of Taylor Heineke. Ryan Fitzpatrick might be out the door. You never know.
Well, and this is what we talked about too. I mean, it was a playoff game against Tom, and it was like, okay, he's got some good stuff. All right, we'll see what else he can do. And then, he's not a special quarterback, but he is a quarterback capable of making the throws, making the plays, and at least get this team rolling because it is young. It is brand spanking new. They're all trying to figure out the playbooks. Until it hits, I mean, Washington could be in a better position. But then when you look at Carolina, you're just hoping that you got the right playmaker who can make those plays at quarterback.
Well, I think we will find our answer this weekend when PJ Walker starts.
True that. Man, I can't wait. And you know what? And here's the funny thing, guys, because bottom of the hour, we've got our very infamous segment of the show, as always, for Best for Last, is Jake's prime predictions. I love this kind of stuff. And I took a hit the last 2 weeks from week 8, week 9, but hopefully week 10.
We all have, especially in our pick.
Oh my God.
It's been terrible. It's been very terrible the last couple of weeks.
So coming up next, because first of all, I'm actually kind of glad that we have Chicago fans in here, Sleeping Angels and Damian Hernandez. But for all the Chicago fans out there, if you're listening and you guys are watching, you've got something very special in Justin Fields. I think Justin Fields personally is the real deal. Chicago just needs to wake up and do something about this, because the fact of the matter is, I know Justin Fields has stuff, and I know that for a fact he can be a franchise quarterback in this league. He can play alongside with, Trevor Lawrence in Jacksonville, and who knows with Mac Jones, but it seems to be working in New England. But we'll be talking a little bit more about why people should not throw away their stock on Justin Fields, why I think he is the real deal. The other part, the AFC, I thought it was obvious how we're looking into this entire conference. But this conference, I don't know, man. There seems to be a little bit of some inconsistencies in this conference.
I'm going
to explain all of that coming up next. All right, folks. So as I've been saying before, and I can't stop talking about it, I'm always shouting this out, and I'm also selling this in Darion's ear all the time. But you hear me talk about this app. This app is more than just an app in itself.
It's a game changer. App at that.
It's an absolute game changer, because here's the thing. You sign up, you're not only just basically paying to play, but you're also getting paid sharing the app with your friends, family, coworkers, and so much more. I get a lot of people who ask me, what exactly is this app? Well, I'm glad you asked. It's called SuperDraft Pro. SuperDraft Pro is a brand spanking new technology that is also great partners with Caesars Entertainment, and I'm sure you're familiarized with them. But here's what's nice about this. You don't just make automatic pays every day, every week, like some of your certain competitors. Instead, you're put under a subscription. And of that subscription opens up doors for many different games that is refreshed every day, every week, where you guys could be winning top dollars. I'm getting people that are up in California and a lot of places who are winning up to close to 40 grand in prizes. Yes. It's the real deal, guys. SuperDraft Pro is a money-making machine, and it could be a life changer for a lot of you guys. So you guys want more information, definitely DM us, and we will definitely love to break it down to you guys about what SuperDraft is all about and how you could get started today. SuperDraftPro.com is the website. Download it on your mobile device through Google Play and the App Store. Sign up like a pro, bet and play like a pro, and share like a pro with SuperDraft Pro.
It's time!
I feel like the grass is green, and everything I do is unseen. But I know that's just in my mind. I know everything is just in my mind. Do you really want to be famous? Do you really want to be a superstar? Do you really want to get dangerous? Do you even know where the groupies are? Bitches out here be shameless, and I really wonder where their parents are. Look around, everything changes. It feels like I've been buried alive. Let it breathe. It feels like I've been buried.
Bitch, I'm a ball, bitch, I'm a ball. Don't get no fuck, don't get no fuck. What's in my cup? What's in my cup? Full of that punch, look at that punch. Bitch, I'm a ball, ballin' like Kobe. Ho, keep it moving, cause you do not know me. Bitch, I'm a ball, ballin' like Kobe. Ho, keep it moving, cause you do not know me. Bitch, I'm a ball, can't talk in Milwaukee. Tell my dog sick of me, ain't do no barking. Pass me some greens, you know I'ma spark it. Mama got ass, told her to arch it. Pull up at the spot, hop out and don't park it. Bino say, always keep one in the cartridge. With Joey out paper, so we going toxic. Came from the swamp to visit the tropics. Check out the scenery. Tell lil' mama to the backwoods right by the lake. Get our hands-
Well, folks, as we mentioned before, there is always brand spanking new deals that are happening all around when you end up going on to Spreadshirt. We've got hats, hoodies, t-shirts, and so much more. And of course, some of the hottest stuff, especially during the winter time to keep yourselves warm and cozy. Definitely go online, as everything is powered by Spreadshirt.com, and rep up the merchandises for your favorite network and for your favorite show here on the Snake Sports Talk Show. So, of course, I'm working all through our prime predictions because that's what I love to do here on the show late on the hour. But, well, let's just talk about this. So we're recapping what had happened in Miami because, first of all, I honestly do love the Ravens, and I do think that they have a really good squad. And we knew this going into like the new season. The fact that they get hit with a bunch of running back injuries, and then on top of it all, it just seemed slow to me. It seemed really, really slow to me.
So you're saying the game was slow?
I in some ways I thought it was slow, and on top of it, there were some inconsistencies, and I wasn't even sure, like how in the hell do you lose a game like that if you're Baltimore? And like, and this is the funny thing.
I can tell you, Jake. I could definitely tell you how Baltimore lost this game.
And it's funny because, like, I seen the whole thing, and I thought Mark Andrews was doing really, really well. Yeah. And there were a couple times that Lamar Jackson had some good throws, but then the points didn't really show for themselves. And it's like they were doing so well, and then all of a sudden they stopped. Like the train just completely stopped. And
I can tell you why. I can tell you why, Jake. I got you. Because I know you probably go down the line the same way I'm going to go down this line coming down with this game. Number one, defensively, the Ravens did not show up. They played so well for 3 quarters. In the fourth quarter, they fell apart. That's one. Number two, there's no way that Marquise Brown has about, 12 targets, only gets 6 receptions. That means you had 6 drops. 6 drops or 5 drops or something of that nature. Hollywood Brown did not play his best. Number two, they shut down Lamar Jackson. And we finally saw a Miami defense that we did not see all this year, that we were supposed to see all this year. Knowing that Xavier Howard played better, Byron Jones played better, this front was blitzing the crap out of Lamar Jackson. Right up the middle, right in front of his face. So when it came down to it, the defense did well to get Brissett out the game. And then that's Tua Tagovailoa comes in. Brissett played had 159 yards, no touchdowns.
Yep.
Then Tua had 158 yards, no touchdowns. But Tua had a big play down the field to Albert Wilson that put them in position. And then they scored a touchdown. Matter of fact, I'm wrong. What they did was that they went up in the lead. They kicked a field goal, and then I think they was up 5, if I'm not mistaken, 5 or 6 or something of that nature. Mm-hmm. Don't get me to lying. Yeah, Sammy Watkins didn't help either. And I kept telling people in this league, even though Sammy Watkins is a speedster, he's not a great receiver.
No.
He's not. And the thing about it is, the Ravens went 99 yards to score with 3 minutes left in the game. And you let Miami and Tua in that fourth quarter run the clock down and score again. Make it 21-10, if I'm not mistaken?
Yep.
You make it 21-10, and then at the same time, you get down to the red zone. You get in there to try to make it probably 21-19 to try you score, or you get the 2-point conversion or something of that nature. I don't know what the score would have been, but at the same time, Lamar didn't play well. I mean, he did have 200 and something yards, but he got sacked 4 times.
Yeah,
When did we ever see Miami get 4 sacks on this defense? The defense has been atrocious all year.
Yeah,
but I feel like this defense found the formula on Thursday night on that type of field. It was muggy out in Miami, but I'm not making no excuse for Baltimore. They lost this game fair and square.
Yeah, and it really, really did. I mean, and it's just so funny because you look at all of these inconsistencies in the AFC. Mm-hmm. The AFC
is wide open.
Yeah, I thought that we had our obvious picks, but here's what's funny. Let's look at the list. Baltimore, we thought for sure was going to be one of those tough ground and pound teams, but next thing you know, they'll be speedsters, and then they slow down, and then Lamar Jackson gets sacked. The defense doesn't really play a huge role. They end up getting miscues, and so it just didn't work out for them. Kansas City, listen, I know there's Chiefs fans here in the chat line, but let's be honest, okay? This was a down year.
Ranked in the league in every defensive stat category is unacceptable.
And this is a down year for Patrick Mahomes. I'm like, this kind of shocked a lot of us when it came to the Chiefs because of how good their offense has always been, but the defense has always been becoming the liability. But I think maybe that's money concerns, or that just this may not be the year. What about the Bills? The Bills lost by a field goal against Jacksonville, which they could be a complete offensive juggernaut with Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs. I don't know what it is. I don't know what ended up happening and why they dropped the gun.
Shout out to Pride from ASAP Sports Network. That's definitely a good question. Can this kind of defense play like that the rest of the year? I don't know.
I would like to
so much offensive controversy between Brissett and Tua is who's going to be the start.
And you know what? It's actually pretty interesting because I'd like to see them do that. I'd like to see Miami really be the defense team, because you have to realize that the only thing that is a problem with Miami is just their quarterback. That's all it is. That's their problem. There may be some where it may be they need a secondary receiver, or they might need at least another running back. Okay. But Brian Flores is such a defensive-minded coach. So he's going to work this defense.
Yeah.
So I would like to see them play as hard on defense through the rest of the year, because then that means it's not a Brian Flores thing. We just have to find a quarterback. And hopefully they make it as simple as it is. It's funny. Second year, Justin Herbert with the Chargers. The Chargers are they are a completely different football team.
Yeah. But they're just up and down like everybody else.
And the inconsistency, as I've said, has been the run defense. That has been so inconsistent with them. And that's where they should have went and made a move. But when I look at the NFC today, I think the obvious picks are Tampa Bay, the Rams, the Packers, and
blase, the same old that we see every year in the NFC. Yeah, now we see in the Rams We're seeing, of course, the Saints is still up there, but the AFC is just as wide open. But right now, who would have known that the Titans would have the best record in the AFC right now? Who would have known, even with not having King Henry? That's crazy.
But you want to know what's funny about this is that think about their stretch. They're on a winning streak since they lost to the Jets.
Yep.
And think about this. Every one of those games have been against the spread. They have been the best team against the spread. And I know now they're the favorites today. Like looking at, Vegas bets, they are the favorites today. And who knows how big, yeah. The Titans are the favorites today. Yeah.
Interesting.
And that's because
just to let you all know, Jake lives in Vegas, so he does know about the bet line. So I'm just throwing it out there for the viewers that don't know.
It refreshes all the time, guys. And trust me, they have made them the favorites. There's a lot of heat that's kind of coming in. But, as I've said, the AFC is wide open. It doesn't seem like it's an obvious type of conference that you know who the teams are that's going to make the playoffs. You already know exactly what they're set to be.
Yeah.
So I truly think if you're the AFC today, you have so many different options. But my only hope is whoever goes into the playoffs in the AFC are exactly the ones that I can't take my eyes off of. And I'm hoping that's the case because I would love to see a very competitive team to be there. I really would. I'd like to see one that everything clicks. And who knows? I mean, the NFC, I feel like the odds got higher for the Rams, but I don't know, AFC. I think this is the time to shine for a lot of these teams. So, like I said, just there was a lot of inconsistencies, but of course, this is always the second half of football. We get this all the time. So let's just see how they handle themselves.
Let's see what these teams could do, even though that you got our Chargers, our Raiders, our Chiefs all creeping up in that division. Every team in that division has a winning record. So that's going to be a lot for the AFC in itself. Because me personally, I feel like the AFC West is the best division in the AFC. Anyway, probably one of the best divisions in the league, as you can say. But that AFC is wide open with so many teams. Just imagine if the Ravens lose, how things are going to turn around. Who's going to be 6-3? Who's going to be 5-4? It's just going to be a lot of things going to happen in week 10, and it's going to justify a lot of these teams going into the second half of the season.
Absolutely. Well, you know what time it is, man. It's that time again for the hot press. Would you mind?
Let me know when you're ready.
Let's make it happen. Time now for the hot press, folks.
This is the hot press.
Oh, all right. Well, there's been a lot of topics, of course, and as we are digging ourselves into the hot press today, I mean, there were so many of them. I mean, the obvious was OBJ, but let's talk about what's happening because I know you had a lot to say about this as a Raider fan. So John Gruden now is reemerging again, suing the NFL and Roger Goodell, the commissioner, saying they forced him out of the Raiders' job. So John Gruden earlier was cut by the Raiders after the allegations of racist comments that were made back in 2011. And so Gruden has been out of the job, bringing in the interim head coach for the Vegas Raiders. And this is what was stated here in the 8th Judicial District Court here in Clark County, Nevada. The complaint alleges that the defendants selectively leaked Gruden's private correspondence to the Wall Street Journal and New York Times in order to harm Gruden's reputation and force him out of his job. There is no explanation or justification for why Gruden's emails were the only ones made public out to the 650,000 emails collected in the NFL's investigation of the Washington football team, or for why the emails were held for months before being released in the middle of the Raiders season. So I don't know what you make about that. I don't know if this is because this is like history repeating itself again with the NFL and with the Raiders as a whole. So I'm just like, whatever the case may be, I know the Washington football team are going to have penalties, yes, because of getting Dan Snyder out as the owner and a lot of this stuff. So this is just crazy to me. I don't know what to make of this.
I just think that John Gruden is doing the right thing by suing the NFL because out of 650,000 emails, you just point him out. So now, I think John Gruden, what he did was wrong. Don't get me wrong. I think he, things just don't come out like that. But there's no way out of 650,000 emails, you just reach out to John Gruden for him to get in trouble. It's other general managers, it's other coaches that's in those emails saying the same thing. So he has every right to sue the NFL at the end of the day. I'm not saying what he did was right because what he did wasn't right. But do he have a right to throw everybody else under the bus? Yes. If I'm going to go down, everybody else should go down with me. So I'm going to sue the NFL and try to figure out who else is in these emails. If not, then I'm going to make a podcast and throw everybody under the bus, and the NFL ain't going to like it because I feel like right now the NFL is saving the rest of the coaches and saving the rest of these owners that's in these emails. Mind you, 650,000 emails, and you only point out John Gruden. He has every right to sue.
Yeah.
So my next topic is with the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah.
Nick Chubb is out of this game in Johnson to start versus the Pats. How are you feeling about this now? Knowing that Nick Chubb, remember we saw him last week. He's no longer there. He's not going to be there this week. How you feel that the Browns going to do against the Patriots?
So this is interesting because I truly don't think this is the same rush defense that the Patriots do have. So with that being said, Nick Chubb being out, Kareem Hunt, and also Demetric Felton out because of being tested positive for COVID-19. So that means Dearness Johnson has to have the start. Truthfully, I mean, let's just say last week they completely annihilated Cincinnati. And the fact that
surprisingly,
and the funny thing of it is they're 6-1 now against the Cincinnati Bengals. Cleveland has that best record, but this is tough though because I can't wait for prime predictions. I really can't, but I do think that Bill Belichick, because knowing his history in Cleveland, it is tough. I think you might get a few rushes out of Dearness Johnson. I think this is a big hit as far as their run game goes. And this is what's funny because Cleveland earlier signed 2 of their offensive tackles.
Yeah.
So that means they haven't paid Baker Mayfield just yet because their focal point and the heart of this franchise is making sure that they have enough protection and they have enough lanes open for their running backs to run. So this could be a big deal this Sunday. I don't know what to think about this, but I feel like Cleveland might take the L. I just think this might be too much because you are going into Foxborough in Patriot territory and just, I don't know, this could be interesting, but this is very, very tough.
And now another running back that's on this as well is running back Alvin Kamara will be out against the Tennessee Titans. So how do you feel about this? Who will be their backup for the New Orleans Saints now? No Jameis Winston. You got Trevor Siemian started, and now Alvin Kamara is out. What is next for the New Orleans Saints?
So you know what? They've actually now started, and this is a report. So Trevor Siemian is going to end up starting as their starting quarterback. Now they will have Taysom Hill in a bunch of areas in the game, but it is confirmed that Mark Ingram is going to have more and more of the touches for the Saints this year. But I'm going with Tennessee. I seriously am. That I know it's pressurized because of the fact that they've been so good against the spread, but you are talking about a New Orleans team that's slightly hit that I don't think they're going to get much out of their offense. So that leaves me to think they'll be defensive reliant in this game, which means they have to shut down Ryan Tannehill at all costs. They have to shut down all those weapons he has in order for them to really kind of pick up in this game. But my gut feeling is Tennessee, man. I mean, they're going to be they're going to ride this thing through and through. So I'm still going with Tennessee in this game.
And that is your hot press by Jake the Snake Silva.
Oh man, I love it when we do this stuff. So, since we'll basically just get right to the point because we already have our picks in so far, and I'm really hoping we rebound this week because I'm seriously hope so. So, and I know Baltimore dropped a dud for me last night. So
a lot of teams been dropping duds the last couple of weeks, and they need to get their stuff together. They really need to.
They seriously do. So without further ado, as always on our best for last here on this show, because there, like I said, lots of picks. I really am confident in every single one of these picks. So I'm hoping this weekend we'll rebound, we'll get better, and hopefully we'll start a streak going. We'll start getting better. We'll start to get hotter. So I'm really liking these picks. So I appreciate every single one of you guys for jumping on in and keep on coming because you don't want to miss this best for last.
And
so
no, this is not pre-recorded. This is not. This is live and direct, ladies and gentlemen.
Hell yeah. So without further ado, and of course I've got the music for it, cueing it, as it's Jake's Prime Predictions Week 10. Here we go.
You're supposed to send me that music too.
Oh, I know I will. So I'll cam myself down here up on this one.
Oh, you just got me in the big screen, huh?
Yes, I do. Let's turn it up. It's Jake's Prime Predictions. Browns at Patriots. I'm going to go with the New England Patriots at the -1.5. People think I'm crazy taking this because Cleveland pummeled Cincinnati. Don't get too cute, Cleveland, Ohio, because first of all, we know Nick Chubb is out. We know Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, and a lot of the top running backs, they're out. So that means they got to go with Dearness Johnson here in this game. But
Dearness Johnson did good on a Thursday Night Football as well for the Cleveland Browns, so he's not no slouch.
Oh, he did. He's no slouch at all. But remember this. Like, I will never disrespect, neither doubt Bill Belichick's mindset against a team like Cleveland. We know he has a lot of that history in there. And New England, by the way, in the last couple of weeks, even though that these have been small, short plays, you got to look at the percentages of conversions that they have been making play for play. And the time of possession this offense has been on. This is probably the best time of possession we've been seeing now in the NFL. And I'm really liking with what the Patriots are doing here with this. So I think the Patriots, they'll be comfortable up at home. I think it'll be too much for Baker Mayfield. I think he's going to get baked against Bill Belichick. So my final score, take it Patriots at -1.5, 24-21. I think it's reasonable because, again, the short passes, the consistency with Mac Jones. I think Cleveland, they'll do whatever it takes to stomp him. But in the end, I think Mac Jones will come out on top. 24-21, Patriots win at home.
I like that. I like that spread for it, too. It's going to be a great game for that one.
Buccaneers at Washington. I'm going to take the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. First of all, we saw them the last time when they ended up playing, and it was in the playoffs. But Tampa's not going to allow that to happen again. Now, even though there are some questions about Tampa Bay in the last couple of weeks, but their offense still shows for it. Their offense is still stacked. They've been scoring up points. But Washington, man, I don't know what it is about them. I want them to be a really good team, but it doesn't seem like that they are finding that niche just yet. I like Taylor Heineke. I like what the rest of this team has done, but I still think it's young, and I still think that they are developing. But I think this defense is going to be too much for Tampa Bay, and so I think the offense will be better. Tampa Bay, 9.5. What's not to love about that point spread? So I'm going to take the Buccaneers to win this 131-20.
I think it could be a smaller spread just due to the fact that Tampa Bay's defense is very depleted at that secondary with Terry McLaurin on the opposite side of them. That really is good. If I was me, I would still make. I'll say a 6.5 favorite for Tampa Bay instead of 9.5.
Yeah, I agree with you there. If it kicks it down a notch, then I'll bet heavy up on this one. But I think this sounds about right. Falcons at Cowboys. I'm going to take the Dallas Cowboys here in this one because, honestly, you don't go to Denver and get embarrassed like that. That is terrible. So
Well, I thought they were home when they lost.
They were home. They were home. But you just don't get embarrassed by a team that's got no direction for them. And I truly think Dallas and Dak Prescott, they have learned what last week gave them. So I think the -8.5 is reasonable for me. Now listen, Atlanta, we know 2-game win streak. That's nice. But you're going to be coming into AT&T where you've got a pissed off Cowboys team that just got caught with their pants down, and Denver took advantage of it. Now, remember, I always try to stay so far away from games like this, anything that involves Atlanta, because they are the trap team. They're absolutely just a trap team. But if you think about it, Dallas, they are going to utilize more and more of their run game. They didn't do that last week against Denver. I don't know what happened to Tony Pollard, and I do not know what happened to Ezekiel Elliott, but they were nowhere to be found. So I think the Cowboys realized what their mistakes were last week, and I think they rebound 8.5. I like it. I'm going to go with a 27-17. Dallas makes it up at home against Atlanta.
Not bad with that. I'm not too mad at that at all.
Lions at Steelers. Come on, guys. This is such a snooze game, honestly. I mean, I'll take Pittsburgh.
I'm surprised at this spread with you.
I'm really surprised at this spread too. What the hell? But you know what though? I always I never want to bet Detroit ever again. I always made that's my rule. Don't bet Atlanta. Don't bet Detroit. I'm keeping it that way. So I'm going to take the Steelers -9. I just feel like Pittsburgh's offense, no matter how old and geriatric that Big Ben really is. I mean, the offense looked good last week against on a Monday night against Chicago, but you are talking about a Chicago team that didn't have Khalil Mack playing that last week. So I think Pittsburgh, you're coming into a god-awful and shot Detroit team that I don't think they have an answer for themselves with literally anything. So I'm going to take the Steelers to win 28-17 at home.
I think this spread should be bigger, Jake. I think you should have this like a 15-point favorite. This is not. I don't see Detroit scoring 17 points on this Steelers defense. I just don't see it. If you think they could put up barely 3 points against the Philadelphia Eagles defense, that's worse. That's not as better as Pittsburgh. Yeah, Pittsburgh's going to score more than 28 points. I give a 40 burger for Pittsburgh in this game.
Yeah, this is just all bad. Jaguars at Colts. I'm going to take the Indianapolis Colts here in this one. We know it's an in-division game. Now, mind you, because the Colts were coming off of a massive win against the Jets, but they did, in fact, slow down and allowed Josh Johnson and the rest of that Jets team to end up coming back to where the final score was 45-30. Like, how does that end up happening? But I do see the Colts, and mind you, Carson Wentz, by the way, is on a 5-game streak of at least a touchdown or more. So Carson Wentz is starting to find his rhythm. He's starting to find his groove. So I like what Indianapolis is doing. And by the way, for those in fantasy, T.Y. Hilton is active. So that means there's another target for Carson Wentz.
Yeah.
And Michael Pittman. So I do expect a lot of passing in this offense this Sunday against Jacksonville, and comfortably at home in Lucas Oil. I like the spread 10.5. Jacksonville, you might get a couple of beautiful throws from Trevor Lawrence, but 33-20 is exactly the score that I'm going with. I like that spread.
And I can see that as well.
Bills at Jets. All right, come on, guys. What happens when a big team gets embarrassed by one of the worst teams in the NFL, the Jacksonville Jaguars? You were hoping a lot of them bounce back. By the way, the record's been really, really good when teams who have a winning record or have been in the playoffs last year always rebound after a terrible loss. So I'm taking the Bills 12.5, even though this is what's funny of a final score, 35-21. Let me explain to you this. The Jets, we know Zach Wilson is still on the sideline, but Mike White, he is healthy. He will be back. That means the offense, they're without Corey Davis. They're without a couple pieces on their offense, but that means Elijah Moore and James Crowder are getting opportunities. So that means the offense for the Jets can find ways to come back. We watched this against the Colts last week. So Buffalo is like 6 points last week against Jacksonville. Not enough. They got caught with their pants down, and they were embarrassed. So I think they're going to come back in a big way in division, 35-21. I love the spread. Bills rebound and prove to people that last game was a fluke. Saints at Titans. So I'm going to go with the Tennessee Titans. I know they are the favorites this week, so that means a lot of pressure is on them, but there's no Alvin Kamara. So it means Mark Ingram is going to have to end up taking all of the touches. Now, Tennessee, by the way, their defense limited the Rams to 16 points last week. So part of the defense has gotten a little bit better. And against the New Orleans team where their offense, I don't know what you're going to get with Trevor Siemian and Taysom Hill, but Tennessee might look a lot better. They're doing this without Derrick Henry, who is in the injured list. But the offense with Ryan Tannehill, this is what we don't respect enough. Ryan Tannehill, without Derrick Henry, still puts up really good numbers. The numbers don't lie. And even though people are like, well, Julio Jones is not a big target, he doesn't have to be. He just has to be a reliable target for Ryan Tannehill really to move the football. So I'm going to take the Tennessee Titans on a favorite of -3. I like it. And I do think this is a beautiful field day for Ryan Tannehill against this New Orleans defense.
I wouldn't be surprised if the Saints come out with this game, even though that Tennessee's been playing well, even though they don't really have a run game, even though AP is still trying to get accumulated. But I still think I wouldn't be surprised if New Orleans take this win. But I'm with you with the 3-point favorite.
Absolutely. Vikings at Chargers. All right, so I know like this is an interesting now mind you, this is the extra game. This is the extra game that every one of us NFL fans have asked for, and this is the one. So I like the Chargers here in this game, -2.5. First of all, they're coming off of a massive win against the Philadelphia Eagles, which they needed it. They needed to get themselves back up. They needed to get themselves back into, in a beautiful field position. Minnesota, by the way, they were tackling several times against Baltimore last week where Justin Tucker won it. So my thought is you're coming into a West Coast. This is what's interesting because this is a benefactor, okay? Minnesota is coming off of a tough loss against Baltimore, and you're in the East Coast. So that means you got to travel all the way to the West Coast. I feel like Minnesota is just going to be completely discombobulated, man. That's a lot of traveling, knowing you're coming off of a big loss that went into overtime against Baltimore, and then you got to go to the West Coast to face the Chargers. I think that's not going to be good for Minnesota. So I'm going to take the Chargers here, 28-24. Justin Herbert is going to be lights out against Skull this Sunday.
But just want to throw this out here real quick. 9:49. I do see a comment. We are live, brother. I see it.
Panthers at Cardinals. I'm going to take the Arizona Cardinals. My God, Colt McCoy looked absolutely phenomenal as a backup. -10 is, in fact, the bet line I have. And I there's just not much that I can really say about the Carolina Panthers. Sam Darnold doesn't look to be the guy. Carolina, I think, just kind of hit a roadblock. I don't think they're going to do very, very well against this Arizona team who completely annihilated their opponents last week with a backup quarterback. So what does that tell you? That means they got some veterans in this on this roster, and they trust each other. Arizona is on a tear, so I'm going to go with them to win 33-20 with that -10. I think Arizona is lights out at home against Carolina.
Question is, will Kyler Murray play this week? That's the only even with a Colt McCoy that has been playing very well. Hey, you never know with Arizona. They just good with Colt McCoy, and they didn't miss a step.
Yeah, they trust a lot of their components here. Eagles at Broncos. I'm going to take Philly because I would love a Philly special here this Sunday, +3. Like it? I love it. Listen, this Philadelphia offense last week against the Chargers made it so, like, I'm going to tell you, this should have been the game of the week because Jalen Hurts and Justin Herbert both were talented. in their positions. They were really, really good, and the numbers show for it. Denver, however, yes, even though they stomped Dallas, which they were very, very embarrassed, I think Philadelphia gets the opportunity to winning this game against Denver, knowing how the defense really played out. The defense played really, really good. I don't think Denver is really going to utilize a lot of the rush, so that means they got to pass. And I think Darius Slay and the rest of the secondaries in that backfield have got to step it up. The defense was not as good as it was, but it did show spurts. So I think Philadelphia, they're going to have to play shootout game against Denver. But I think with the +3, it's worth the risk. I'm going to take them to win 27-24 in Mile High. Philadelphia gets the job done. Seahawks at Packers. All right, I avoided this game at all costs, but if I had to take a pick, I'm going to take Seattle here at +3.5. Now, here's the reason why I wanted to avoid it. Two things. One, the Aaron Rodgers deal in Green Bay, because I don't know how he's going to be coming back. But you know who else is coming back for Seattle?
Who?
Russell Wilson.
And you got this as a 3.5 favorite?
Apparently so. Apparently that's what Fox Bet has.
Wow.
That's exactly what they've got him at 3.5. The
That's
Vegas bet lines, it's weird. This is why I didn't even want to touch this game at all, because of that reason. I don't know what I'm going to get out of Russell Wilson, and I don't know what I'm going to get out of Green Bay after the loss against Kansas City, who, by the way, only limited them to 13 points. So let's keep that in mind. But I think Russell Wilson was just itching to get back up onto the field so bad. If you watched his press conference, we'll see how his throwing hand is, but I think he's excited to be reunited back with his team, and I think they're going to do a lot better. I'm going to take them to win 28-24, +3.5. I mean, I avoided this game, but let's just hope Russell Wilson is lights out this week. Chiefs at Raiders. This might shock a lot of people, but I'm going with those Raiders.
Let's go
against Kansas City. Listen, how many times do I have to say Kansas City's defense is just so obvious, and they're suspect. But listen, the Raiders, we know, came off of an embarrassing loss against the Giants. We get it. But outside of Derek Carr and Darren Waller, there are inconsistencies with their wide receiving core and the rest of them that have to step up. But I do think coming back home is going to give them the assurance that they need to, that Derek Carr is going to lead the way. And the Chiefs, by the way, this is a down year for Patrick Mahomes and for the rest of the team. So I think it'll be competitive. We knew what last year gave us with the Raiders and Chiefs, but I do think the Raiders are going to get the Chiefs numbers here. And this is beautiful. I think, is this a Sunday night, isn't it?
Yep, this is a Sunday night game.
Oh my God, this is perfect. I'm going with the Raiders here. +2.5. Like it, I love it.
I like the spread here because it's going to be a good game. Yeah. I'm not saying it's going to be a walk in the park. It's going to be a good game for the AFC West.
No, I think this will definitely be the big time, like prime time game people are going to be watching. 27-24, Raiders get it done at home. Rams at 49ers. All right, I'm going to take the Rams here at this one. I like it, -4. This is really, 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 really good. So I think this is a really good opportunity for him. Like the fact that OBJ is in the building, I love it. So the Rams offense in San Francisco is scaring me this year. They just completely, like their offense, the defense, you got to get Trey Lance back in this thing. So let's just hope that, San Francisco, they make it an interesting game, but I think this is going to be too much for them against the Rams. I'm going to take them to win -4. Rams win at 28-23.
I think that should be a bit higher. I just think that defense don't have no chance of stopping the Rams at all. They got a scrub behind Art and Key over there that only got his first sack in 10 weeks. So yeah, I'm taking the Rams higher than that. I'm saying 35-17 Rams.
Yeah. Well, there you have it, folks. There's Jake's prime predictions, all from there, as all odds are provided by SuperDraft Pro's sports book. So if you haven't done so already, definitely sign yourself up for SuperDraft Pro. We've got the fantasy app, We have the Sportsbook app, and there is so much to choose from. And by the way, when you do the Sportsbook app and you collect all of your Caesars rewards, all those Caesars rewards can go towards, a night stay at any of the Caesars resorts, also restaurants for all of our foodie people, shows, and much, much more. So, like I said, guys, SuperDraft Pro, it's the way to go. Download it on your mobile device through Google Play in the App Store and sign yourselves up. Well, guys, that's going to do it here for the show. And man, like I said, I hope these picks are worth it, man. I really, really do.
I really hope they come through and get these picks correctly, because in our pick'em league right now, and Key in the building can vouch for it, is just not looking good. It's just not looking great for us over here at the Spotlight Sports Network. So hopefully these week 10 picks can be good.
All righty. Do you want to close this off, man? Because I know I'm definitely jumping out.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Thank y'all for tuning in to another episode of the Snake Sports Talk Show. Your host, Jake the Snake Silva, is in the building. I am your co-host, Spotlight of the Spotlight Sports Network. Make sure you follow us on all social medias, which is Instagram at SL Sports Network, Twitter at SL Sports Network. Before you know it, we will have SpotlightSportsNetwork.com website back up. And make sure you go to SpotlightSportsGear.com for your merch and everything, and go to SuperDraftPro.com for your latest news in fantasy sports as well. I am your host, Darion of the Spotlight Sports Network. This is the Snake Sports Talk Show. Thank you for being here. Peace, love, and happiness. And we'll see you Monday, same time, same place, over here at the Snake Sports Talk Show and the Spotlight Sports Network. Y'all have a great Friday, and I'll see y'all later. Peace.